Admiral Zixathala had seen countless worlds fall before the might of the Corellian Galactic Empire. From the crystal spires of Vega Prime to the floating cities of the Andromeda clusters, no species had ever withstood their technological superiority for more than a solar cycle. The humans of Earth would be no different, or so she believed. The warning had come from Scout Commander Veltar, a veteran of 300 conquest campaigns. His transmission from the outer rim of the Sol system carried an urgency that made even the most hardened officers pause. "Admiral, I've completed reconnaissance of the third planet. The species calls itself human. They possess primitive technology, chemical rockets, basic nuclear fission, crude electromagnetic communications. By all metrics, they should capitulate within standard planetary cycle. However," Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously, a sign of distress rarely seen in Corellian scouts. "I recommend extreme caution. Something about this world feels wrong. It's as if the entire planet is a snare waiting to spring." Admiral Zixathala dismissed the warning with a wave of her secondary appendage. Veltar had grown soft in his old age, seeing phantoms where none existed. The data was clear. Humans were a Type 0.7 civilization, barely capable of interplanetary travel. Their weapons were laughably primitive, their military tactics textbook examples of inefficiency. The Empire's standard invasion protocol would suffice. 3 weeks later, the Corellian Grand Fleet, 500 vessels strong, entered Earth's atmosphere. Cities burned under plasma bombardment, and human military installations crumbled like sand. Within 48 hours, every major government had either surrendered or been destroyed. The conquest appeared complete, textbook even. Admiral Zixathala established her command post in what the humans called Geneva, a city chosen for its symbolic significance. The human leaders who remained were brought before her, their faces etched with despair and defeat. She expected pleas for mercy, perhaps offers of tribute. What she received instead was a smile from an elderly human male who identified himself as General Harrison. "You should have listened to your scout," Harrison said calmly, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. He was right. Earth is a snare. Before Zixathala could respond, alarms began blaring throughout her command ship. Reports flooded in from across the planet. Human resistance cells were emerging from underground bunkers, armed with weapons that shouldn't have existed. Worse, these weapons were effective against Corellian shields, cutting through their energy barriers like they were mere light displays. "Impossible," Zixathala hissed. "Our intelligence indicated no advanced metallurgy, no energy weapons, no visible advanced metallurgy," Harrison corrected, his smile widening. "Tell me, Admiral, in your 3 centuries of conquest, have you ever encountered a species that weaponized deception itself?" The truth began to unravel like a carefully planned demolition. The primitive cities the Corellians had bombed were facades, carefully constructed theater designed to mask the true infrastructure buried miles beneath the surface. The chemical rockets they'd observed were decoys. The real human spacecraft had been hidden in asteroid belts and moon bases, powered by technology that made Corellian engines look like steam turbines. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, though it far exceeded anything in the galaxy. It was their capacity for strategic patience and misdirection on a planetary scale. For over a century, they had prepared for this moment, knowing that their radio transmissions would eventually attract attention from the stars. Every aspect of human civilization that the Corellians had observed was carefully calibrated disinformation. The humans had studied the Empire's conquest patterns, analyzed their tactics through intercepted communications, and prepared accordingly. They had deliberately maintained the appearance of a primitive species while developing weapon systems that could counter every known Corellian advantage. "You see," Harrison continued as explosions rocked the command ship, "we learned something about ourselves during our world wars. We're really, really good at killing things, and when we put our collective minds to it, we get creative about it." Outside, the tide of battle had shifted completely. Human fighters, sleek craft that seemed to bend space around them, danced between Corellian vessels like predators among prey. The Empire's mighty dreadnoughts, designed to reduce planets to slag, found themselves outmaneuvered by craft a fraction of their size. But the humans' most devastating weapon wasn't technological. As Corellian survivors from other conquered worlds watched the broadcasts, something unprecedented began to happen. Rebellion sparked across the galaxy as suppressed species realized that the Empire could be defeated. The psychological impact of humanity's victory rippled through hyperspace faster than any message. Admiral Zixathala's flagship shuddered as human boarding craft latched onto its hull. Her bridge crew looked to her for orders, but what orders could she give? Their weapons were useless, their tactics had been anticipated, their empire was crumbling with each passing moment. How? Was all she could manage. Harrison's expression grew serious. Because you made the same mistake every bully makes, Admiral. You assumed strength was about size and obvious power. You never considered that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let your enemy think they've already won. The bridge doors hissed open, and human soldiers in powered armor stepped through. But they didn't immediately open fire. Instead, they waited as Harrison approached Zixthala. "We're not like you," he said quietly. "We don't conquer for the sake of conquest. But we will protect ourselves, and we will free those you've enslaved. Your empire ends today." As the Corellian fleet burned in Earth's skies and rebellions erupted across 1,000 worlds, Scout Commander Veltar's final message echoed through the void. "I tried to warn them. Earth was never the prey. It was always the predator, waiting for the right moment to strike." The galaxy would remember this day not as the fall of a single world, but as the moment humanity announced itself to the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators who had turned an entire planet into the ultimate trap. The snare had finally sprung, and the Empire was no more.